CMPRadio.net. It's the station.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, whatever time that you're listening to this, we're saying peace and blessings to you. This is Onaji Mawid. They call me Dr. O. And we are initiating this inaugural Everything for Fathers, A to Z. Now that's a lot, right? So if you are going to do a lot, you need to have some brothers who got a lot. And I got some brothers with me who, in fact, they do have a lot. I'm going to introduce them in a minute, but I want to set the stage, if you will. When we say fatherhood A to Z, we know letters, we know words, we know sentences, we know paragraphs, we know stories. And that creates what is called a narrative. So we're talking about rewriting the narrative. And let me just do a shout out to my illustrious wife, Dr. Fatima Hafiz, who she taught me that. So if I say it and I don't give her the recognition to say, oh, okay, that's another thing you didn't stole from me, right? So I'm going to definitely shout her out. And we'll have her on the show one time as well. So A through Z. I'm going to start with a place that men usually don't go, and that is called feelings. This is a chart that says 100 list of feeling words. I'm not going to read all of them. I'm going to just pick out some of them that happen to begin with A, fatherhood A through Z. A glow. I haven't heard that word in 10,000 years. Affronted, aggravated, agitated, annoyed, accepted, admiring, adoring, alienated, ashamed, awful, afraid, alarmed, anxious, appalled, awkward. See, if we don't have a language for our feelings, by default, there's something in the brain that's called the amygdala. And by default, that amygdala say, yo, I got this. Like, I got your back. Who we going to attack? Who we going to insult? Who we going to attack? Who we are going to confront? So by default, we have these mechanisms inside our brain, inside our body, that is for what? Survival. So if we think that something's going to confront us, we're going to respond, right? Fight, flight, fawn. There's going to be a response. So we need to up our vocabulary as it relates to these feeling words. So, as all things, to my right, I got brother John Muhammad. And he's going to say, "Yeah, that's right, brother." We were taught whoever controls the diameter of your information controls the circumference of your understanding. I'll say it again. Whoever controls the diameter of your information controls the circumference of your understanding. What does that mean? It means that whatever information we have, that's all we got. And from what we have is going to give us a perspective of life. We call that a worldview. So if you push and you pull the line in either direction, it's going to take you into negative directions, it's going to take you in a positive direction. But sometimes what people forget to realize that when you're changing that line, the diameter of that line from one side of the circle to the other, right through the center. But when you're changing the line, you're also pulling the center of gravity. So we are asking ourselves, where is our center of gravity? Where are we living? And what kind of spiritual space, psychological space, not just physical space, but psychological and spiritual space, our value system. Now, when we talk about information, I'm going to share over time what is called the 9 competencies of information. And the first category says, competency 1, to recognize the need for information. If somebody doesn't see that they don't need it, guess what? They ain't going to be with it. It's not going to be anything that they're going to deal with. So in this area of competency 1 requires conceptual understanding of the character, the dimensions, and impact of information environment. Whoa, that's a lot. Yeah. Learns to formulate appropriate research and information-seeking questions. Why? How? Where? 5 whys, right? Incorporates effective information management into learning processes and workflow methodologies. This 9 competencies comes from my master's studies for my master's degree in social work, and I always said they were on it, because the last one, the 9th one, is called Competency 9, to develop an appreciation of lifelong learning. So what is the goal? The goal is help people introduce certain information that can be beneficial to them, and then go through these 9 competencies and end up being a lifelong learner. Not just learning. Kwame Nkrumah said we have to act as men of thought and think as men of action. So it's not just the information. What do we want? We want to turn information into knowledge. How do we do that? By being aware of something, by accepting something, and by applying something. So I have with me some brothers here who've done all of that, and let me tell you, I can just sit back and each one of them alone can take the show for probably the next year. But we're gonna slice it and dice it. So I'm going to I'm going to go to my left, and the reason I'm going to my left is because my natives brothers and sisters taught me that when you want to have a heart-to-heart conversation, where's the heart? It's on the left side. So you go to the left. Why? Because you want to have the heart-to-heart conversation. So given that, I'm gonna go to my left and introduce Brother Hakeem. Brother, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, what's going on, people? Glad to have y'all viewing this morning. I'm here with some good people, man, some good brothers. One I just met, Brother Bush, but Brother John, Elder Dr. O, man, I really appreciate you inviting me. I am a father, husband, a brother, a son. I'm concerned about my family every day. I'm concerned about my community every day. And in my prayers that each day I wake up, I'm doing something to help better my family, better my community, and ultimately better myself. I know that I'm connected to all that. I can't just focus on me without worrying about my family. I can't just worry about my family without being concerned about my community. And that's how it works. It's a holistic approach to things when it comes to growing as an individual. I work with youth who are dealing with a lot of different circumstances, who are involved with justice in some form of way, juveniles, adjudicated youth. I also work with brothers who are returning into society from incarceration. I have my own personal story about dealing with struggles as a juvenile and as an adult, you know, dealing with prison. But I'm here today because the focus was about fatherhood, correct? And addressing the needs of fathers, because, you know, when I was raised, man, you know, we were taught to just take it on the chin, you know. Don't share your emotions. That's weakness. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve. You know, never let them see you sweat. These are the different terminologies that the fathers in my life, whether it be uncles or fathers on the street, taught me. And what I learned is that as I grew and I didn't know how to communicate emotionally, I really wasn't communicating myself to people around me. You know, I gave them what they were expecting as opposed to who I really was. And I guess the challenge at that time of my life was seeking to gain knowledge of self. Who am I? You know, how can I ever do that if I'm lying, so to speak, to those who are connected to me about who I really am? So, from age, I want to say 8 to about 15, you know, I was living a very reckless life, you know, young man, educated, but still had connection to the streets. You know, I didn't know how to pull away. I didn't know how to separate it, you know. So when I had the experience, man, of going to Africa when I was 16 years old, I think that was like a real awakening for me, and, you know, teaching me who I was. I met people that looked like me, who owned businesses and traveled the world. And you wanted to stick something in there, Dr. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's. I mean, this brother just shot us over to Africa, to the motherland, right? So we're gonna pick it up. We're gonna go to the left, and that would be going around the table, and that's to my brother Butch.
I ain't never seen that happen before. You went right on clockwise. Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? Najee, thank you for having me here. My name is Ulysses Butch Slaughter. It's a pleasure to be here. the conversation around fatherhood is very, very near and dear to my heart. I was just looking at a quote from a guy named Joseph Campbell, who wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And in that book, he says that the father is the initiating priest of the child. And I take that very, very seriously, that the father, this is not to dismiss the mother. And these conversations should never be about this or that. It should be about this and that. This ain't about, father being more or less. And I get feelings, and I've always had feelings as a father. I don't know how you can be a father without feelings. And as much as people talk about our attempts to hide or suppress feelings, it's just impossible. They come out sideways if they're gonna come out one way or another. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation. I think one of the things that continues to come to me when I talk about fatherhood is the issue of health, and that health being a comprehensive, optimal health. A health that, as I think I heard Brother Hakeem alluding to, does take you back to Africa and takes you into the solar system and takes you across time and takes you a whole bunch of places. And it's up to the father to connect himself to all that is in order for him to express to his children. We got to know who we are. And I'm talking above and beyond the pyramids. We got to know the solar system. We got to know the beauty of the sun. We got to know this stuff. We keep getting suppressed in the most oppressive way. We got to do something to expand our thinking about who we are and what we are capable of. And I think that's the role of the father. So again, thank you for having me here.
Oh, brother, thank you. So I don't know if it was the first time I met Ulysses Butch, but this brother did something that could only be understood as a miracle, nothing less than that. If someone asks me, have I witnessed a miracle in life, I can say I've done that because of this brother right here. I don't know how many years ago it's been, but he invited his father, who murdered his mother, to come and have a community village reconciliation. I mean, come on. You invite your father now the backstory is, for about 20 years, he was just thinking about how he could take him out once he get out of jail. Right? How do you turn that around? And what I understood from that was he asked this question, what would my mother want? What would my mother want? What would she want me to do with this? And then he had to go deep inside to saying, that's not what she would want me to do. She would want me to be my best self. So in the question, he discovered his true deep self and took on the meaning of his name, Ulysses. Warrior. Took it on. And he's been that all his life, but he had a curveball he had to deal with. So I saw that miracle. I was there. I witnessed him having this conversation on stage. And let me let you know, it wasn't a private conversation. I mean, it was, but he wanted the community to benefit from it. Wow. Whatever was going to come from it. So it was at City Hall in Chester. Listen, I mean, that's a miracle. So when we say, I can't forgive this person because they did this, really? I'll show you about what forgiveness looks like. In fact, he has a book called Forgiveness. We're going to get back to that. Wow. But I really wanted Butch to be here because of who he is, number one, but also because from what I know, he's been connected with the longest fatherhood-related activities in Chester. Can you talk a little bit about that, Butch?
Yeah, we at the Chester Housing Authority, I've consulted there with Steve Fisher for about 10 years. We started what we call Fathers Are Talking. Actually, it was the same year my father passed. I'm starting to feel my feelings coming out. So Fathers Are Talking is a forum where fathers do just that. We talk, and we share, and we become vulnerable. And it's been going on for about, like I said, this is 2023, so a little more than 10 years now. And we just get guys together and we talk. And those who sit down at the table, we always say you leave your title at the door. Sit down and you reveal yourself. It's as we like to say, a safe space to reveal yourself. If you want to be seen, you got to reveal yourself.
That's right.
You can't say I want to be seen and then hide. So
Sarah
that's
Bona,
what we do.
I see you.
I see you.
I see you.
I am because we are.
I am because we are. Because we are, therefore I am.
That's right.
Brother, thank you, and we're going to get back to that. But, you know, let me just extend the conversation, because through the brother to my left, Hakeem, he turned me on to a whole world. It's called Wilmington, Delaware. And I went down, it was called Raising Kings.
That's right.
Raising Kings. It was called Raising Kings Week from January 16th to the 19th, and we're going to talk about that some more as well. But this brother right here to my left is showing me what brotherhood is about, showing me what village is about. So now he has initiated me into the Wilmington village, and to my right, I got Brother John Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, beloved.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for
Good to see
coming.
you. Honor.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here.
Yes, sir. Greetings, family. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Almighty God, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that regardless to land, label, or language, there is but one God. I am honored to be with my brothers today and to hear our story and to share in this topic on fatherhood. I had the youth ministry for the Nation of Islam in Wilmington, Delaware, Muhammad's Mosque, number 35. I'm initially from New Jersey.
I am too, brother. I'm from Englewood, New Jersey.
Inglewood.
In Harlem, too.
What they call Lost Paradise, Asbury Park, New Jersey. Growing up, as Brother Hakeem said, without a father, I chose to accept the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as my spiritual father to fill that gap. And so he has been a father to me as he has been to others, a trusting father. And this issue of fathers is serious. It's serious. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be talked about, because we as men need each other. We need the wisdom of each other.
Say that again. Say that again.
We need each other.
Say it one more time, brother.
We need each other.
One more time. I love that. Say it again.
We need each other. And I met my brother Baba here at the Raising Kings week, and it was kinship from the beginning, as well as my brother Hakeem. See, we are spiritual people.
That's right.
And you can, when you discern the spirit, once we cut through all the red tape, we family.
That's right.
And within 8 minutes and 20 seconds, I knew these brothers. I'm like, okay, I'm in good company. So when we talk about fathers, as we continue the conversation, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us that in the word father, if you put the word R after A, you have farther.
That's right.
And it is the job of the father to take himself, his family, and his community further.
That's right, brother.
We can't do that ignorant.
That's right.
We can't do that in pride and arrogance. We can't do it in self-hate. So that role of father, he has to gain knowledge, he has to implement knowledge, and that knowledge moves himself and his family forward, and that's what we have to do in a world like this. So I'm happy to be a part of the conversation.
Oh,
Thank
brother,
you.
it's so good having you here.
Yes, brother.
Man, this is feeling real good. So I want to let the audience know we have some other brothers sitting on the wing, and they're going to be coming in and filling these chairs as well. So, when I said we got a full agenda, you need people with some full information, and they got it, and I'm bringing it. They're bringing it, so I'm really happy that all of you are here. I want to, for those who are just turning in, say that this is everything for fathers from A to Z. And with A, we're looking at the word affect, right? Your emotions, the thing that we've been taught not to deal with, right? And there's a reason for that, because we had to turn a blind eye to what was being done to us. Understand the horrors of slavery, where you didn't have your own personhood, you didn't have your family, you didn't have, you had to deal with the fact that this man is going to come and take my wife and take her out back and whatever, or my daughter, or my children. We had to put a wall up to make sure that I can just get past today. And to remember, the sisters were saying, be cool. No, don't get involved. Because she knew if he got involved, he was going to be sold off, he was going to be castrated, or he was going to be murdered. Either way, any ABC, either way, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. So we, as a people, we've had to suck it in and just hold ourselves. And certainly the man had to disconnect himself from his emotions as much as possible. And you say, no, Najee, what are you talking about? Slavery was, what, how many 100 years ago? No. There's something called epigenetics. Epigenetics teaches us that because of the environment in which we live, it's going to change the way that the genes gets expressed. It doesn't change the gene, but it changes the language of the gene. Language. So we are walking around with all of this inside of us, not even knowing that it's there. On top of the microaggressions, the mesoaggressions, the macroaggressions that we have to contend with every day. Yesterday I was at a program, I was listening, I was on a meeting, and they said that when a child witnesses gun violence in their community, the rate of mental health in our children skyrockets. Oppression is worse than slaughter, as it says in the Quran. So we're saying we're going to deal with the alphabets of fatherhood, and we're going to always start off with affect, our feelings, because that's the thing we've been taught not to deal with, not to recognize. What's our language about feelings? I want to now bust a myth. I'm going to bust it up. CDC report on fathers' involvement proves that black dads are more involved, and the Pew Research Center reports that the role of American dads is changing. According to CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, black fathers were the most, you understand the word is most, people. I didn't say some, I didn't say here, I didn't say there, I said most. The most involved with children, no matter if they lived with them or not. A greater percentage of black fathers when compared to white and Hispanic fathers fed or ate meals with children daily, bathed, diapered, or dressed children daily, played with their children daily, and read to the children daily. One of the goals that's connected with Healthy Start, I work for the Foundation for Delaware County, and Healthy Start is one of our programs of which I'm employed, and one of the goals, in fact, is reading to children. The study also proved the overall that American dads are, in fact, more involved with children and child care than in past years. Some of the statistics. Over 50% of moms and dads reported that parenthood is an essential part of their identity. You talked about identity. Dads are spending more time on children care and homework than in the past years. I got a picture where it's a PTA meeting, and all the dads are brothers, black brothers, are sitting up there in the meeting, right? When did you see that on TV? You ain't never see that. 48% of working dads would rather be home. Now, this is deep, y'all. 48% of fathers would rather be home with their children instead of working. Did you know that? 70% of Americans say it's important for the baby to bond with mom and dad. Black fathers, 70% were most involved and likely to have bathed, dressed, diapered, and helped their children use the toilet every day compared to white, which is 60% dads, and Hispanic dads, 45%. We have to bust the myths, right? The myth of white supremacy, the myth of racism, the myth of we, or no people, the myth that we're lazy and shiftless, and we got to bust the myths, and I got living proof right around me.
That's right.
I got living proof right around me. So let me stop here for a minute and circle back to Hakeem and tell us a little bit more about your work that you do and how important, and how does fatherhood play into that?
So I work with a lot of young people who technically got single family homes. Mother just there, maybe grandmother also. Not a lot of fathers. One of my youth actually had father figures, but most recently, his father passed away when he was about 10. And then a father figure in the community passed away when he was about 13. He's 16 years old now, and had some challenges. He was being homeschooled and had a lot of challenges connecting with people, social issues. He had some diagnosis. He's on the spectrum for autism, but very athletic. I mean, beautiful heart, And I had the chance to spend the last year with him. working with them on, number one, dealing with the issue that he had with the court, doing some cognitive behavior training and working on some victim awareness, the things that need to be done, laying some foundation to understanding like, okay, how we offend people will affect us, and I was following the crowd and got caught up in some mess. But we built this relationship over time for me just being consistent. Maybe not there every day, but when that phone rings, I'm picking it up. When his mom and grandmother got a concern, I'm there. I'm talking to him, and him seeing a black male who is consistent, who is not, incarcerated or not, caught up on parole or probation, but professional in the field that is genuinely concerned for him, caused him to develop a good relationship with me, open up, trusting, and he's just one of them. So I know the importance, not just for myself, but I got evidence on how it affects a person. This kid's now going to, Chester High School and on the baseball team, and he's interning after school. Like this kid went from being in a school where he was at a home for most of his middle school year, going into high school, being social, gaining friends and getting active in his community. So I know that outside of what mom and what grandmom is doing at home, giving them support, a lot of that came from, and they tell me this a lot, came from our relationship and me just being consistent. And
Brother, okay, I'm gonna hit that. So, so there's a program called Amachi. Brother out of Philadelphia, what's his name?
Wilson Good.
Wilson Good, right, Dr. Wilson Good. And he talks about his life story, and what he says is that his father was incarcerated, and he might have been going on that same path as well, but a mentor came into his life and kind of steered him and guided him and took him to another pathway. And from that, he just said he wanted to do the same, because we know when we have incarcerated parents, it's a high like anything else, that you're going to go that way because that's what you see, that's what you know. Now, there's something called ACEs. ACEs is the Adverse Childhood Experiences. Many of our people don't know this. When we have to let them know that studies have been done in California, Kaiser Permanente, basically white folks, living good, good jobs, everything, and they were obese, and they gave them some treatment, and every they came down with the weight, and then they came back up. They said, wait, what's going on? So they studied, asked me to come back, and they put together, and they came up with 11 or 12 different questions about your childhood experience, and if it was adverse, the greater number of the adversities that they experienced, the greater the likelihood they was going to experience heart attacks, substance abuse, imprisonment, so forth and so on. So we want to let the audience know you want to do that. You want to do that Google and do ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And what Brother Hakeem just spoke about was, here's a kid I don't know if he had gone through what is called the ACE scale, but his life experiences certainly was that anyway. But through the intervention of that mentor, so father isn't just a biological father, right? We have to be social fathers in the community. Right. So by this brother doing that work, all of them sitting here, in fact, doing that work, he was able to turn that brother's life around. Now I want to go to Brother Butch again and say, what is your vision for Chester? Because you're involved with so many different things. But what's your vision for Chester? Because you got to have a vision. People without a vision will perish.
That's right.
What's your vision, Chester? You've been here, I can't say all of your life. You said you're from Chicago, but for certainly a great part of your adult life, you've been here in Chester, and you've made a major contribution. What's your vision for Chester, Butch?
So I want to talk about vision in terms of what I would like to contribute. And I want to start with this. As you listen to you all talk, I'm nothing but a plagiarist for the most part. So I remember what other people say, and if it works, I go back and I use it. And one of my favorite quotes comes from Khalil Gibran, who wrote the book called The Prophet. And in that book, he says, your children come through you, not from you. They came from someplace else. They came through you. You don't own the children. They came through you. and they are going someplace else
Where you can't go.
where you can't go,
That's
he
right.
says. And so when I think about vision, I think again about opening up what the possibilities are. Your vision is limited by what you know to be available to you, right? And so we got to open up what we know to be available to us. And again, plagiarizing, I think of a brother named Dale Jones who passed some years ago. He wrote a book called Culture Bandits. I used to sit with Dale, and he would talk about how we allow our children and our families to be seduced. And Amos Wilson said this too. We allow our families to be seduced by what the world is offering them, and the seduction is what traps them. And they don't realize that they're being toyed with, that their feelings are being toyed with. Everybody, like Stevie Wonder says, you know, everybody got a thing, but they don't know how to handle it. And so when people say, hey, take this, our children go, ooh, I want that. And you see how children are engrossed with laptops and phones and all that stuff that just seduces them. They get pulled into this stuff. And as fathers, we got to reconnect them to this. You talked about spirit. We are spirit. So all of these things that are getting in the way of us understanding who we are beyond the technology, and the fact that we are the creators of the technology, should tell us something. So my vision has something to do with reminding people that our children come through us, not from us. They came from someplace else. There's a wonder to the universe that we have totally ignored. And it's in rediscovering that wonder that we can rediscover our power outside of the oppression and in what people call white supremacy. White supremacy is as strong as we give it power. So we keep playing into a game that we can't win, instead of redefining rules and making up our own game so that we're not seduced by other people's games. We got to get out of this thing of we got to have what everybody else has. I'm not surprised that fathers would be happy to be at home. I homeschooled my children for 4 years. Oh my God, one of the best times of my life. But who would then turn around and say, oh, you just lazy, you don't want to go to work, you that. Nah, I love these babies. I love being there, forwarding my children. And I don't have to live through the definitions of other people, which is what too many people are trying to do. Too many fathers are trying to live through the definitions of other people. I know you got to have a vision, but like I said, you got to understand what the possibilities are, because your vision is constrained by what you understand the possibilities to be. So we got to open up our understanding of what the possibilities are as fathers and be okay with traveling the road less traveled. Okay. We can't keep going down the roads that we keep going down are the roads that keep entrapping us, and then we wonder why we keep doing this insane thing over and over and over again. You know how that goes. You keep repeating the same stuff, thinking you're gonna get different results. It ain't working.
It's called
time for us to.
insanity.
It's insanity. We got to do something different, and we got to decide for ourselves and understand that we have the power as fathers to do that, and we have to be okay with thinking outside of the so-called box. We got to think outside the box because it's trapping us and our children. So, again, my vision, my hope, is to remind people that we are bigger than we are behaving, and that it's important for us to redefine where we want to go based on our terms, places where we can't be trapped, places where our children can't be trapped.
Beautiful, thank you. I know you have another obligation, and you'll be leaving soon. So can you leave the audience how to get in touch with you, either your phone number, your email? What would you like to? How would you like them to?
I have a
get in touch
website. It's Ulysses Butch Slaughter, ULYSSESBUTCH Slaughter.com, and you can also reach me via Gmail, UlyssesButchSlaughter@gmail.com. Najee, I'm working on a couple of projects that relate directly to fatherhood, and one of them is, you and I've talked about this thing before of how we came through a system in a society that would literally walk in our houses, where people could literally walk in our houses and take our children. For so many years this went on, and I don't know why people would think that has not impacted us to this day. That we live in our blood, we live with the memories and the feelings of our ancestors, and people could walk into our houses and take our babies, and we don't understand that we continue to concede subconsciously to that on a daily basis. So I say again, we got to start really being proactive, vigilant around what it means to build another vision for what's possible for our children. So thank you for allowing me to be
Thank you
here.
so
My
much.
brothers, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
So I'm going to introduce a definition. Brotherhood is a wall of well-placed bricks by Dr. Willie, Brother Willie, the community wino up in Harlem. And when I was doing drug counseling, that's what the brother was, told us. I asked Mr. Willie, what is brotherhood? He said, brotherhood. He pondered for a minute, and he said, a wall of well-placed bricks. So that means we're going to keep this wall strong. I'm going to ask Brother Dr. Smith to come over and get in the seat, because we're going to keep the wall strong. You know, sometimes one brother move out, another brother move in. We're going to keep it going. Thank you so much, Brother Butch, man. Thank you so much for all the work. You got to go too? All right, so Brother Hakeem just reminded me that he has an obligation that he has to get back to something as well. So I'm going to skip Brother John for a minute and go to the left and let Hakeem share with us what his vision is and how people get in touch with you.
This is my vision right here, what we're doing. Starting the conversation, actually taking action, coming together, and talking about what's the next steps. We each have something going on in our, respected professions, in our community, but we need to come together and not make it something you're doing over there, something he's doing over there, something we're doing together. Just like when I brought you down to Wilmington.
Yes, you did. Bear witness.
So this is the start of it.
Okay.
I'm so grateful to be here. So many educated and experienced brothers. I think all y'all might be my elders, but I'm greatly appreciated, man. And I think going forward, let's just keep doing what we're doing. I just got a text. I got a kid who got suspended from school, and dad's not there, and they need me to go get him. So I need to go to the school.
Wow.
And deal
Doing the work, putting the work in.
Love you, brothers.
Love you, brother.
Love you. I'll be talking to you.
Okay, very good. So one chair goes empty, another brother comes in. My brother, come on up. So I wanted to complete the last circle of question, which is the question of what's your vision, and I'm going to ask Brother John to share with us what is his vision. And of course, by having Brother John here and these other brothers as well, we're not just talking Chester. We're really talking Greater Philadelphia. We're really talking Delaware Valley. Yeah. So brothers and sisters, they move back and forth. So there's no such the lines. We're not on the plantation no more, even though we act like it. But Brother John, give us your vision. Let's start with Wilmington. What is your vision? Because we want to help you in accomplishing that vision.
Yes,
and then what's your vision for all of, let's say, Greater Philadelphia area?
Thank you, Brother Dr. O. The scripture says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And I know that not just Delaware, my brother who just left, Brother Ulysses, he lit a fire in me.
Really?
Because, to be a father, you got to be a warrior today. We talk fatherhood. Hood is the covering. It's the system. It's the science of being a father. And I have a son. And in a world like this that is constantly attacking our manhood, you talked about the micro and the macro aggressions. As fathers, we got to be warriors. We got to be warriors to stand on what we believe, stand on what is right, to forge a way for our children. You can't be a coward in this thing called fatherhood. Wow. You really just can't be a coward, because when you act like what's on the outside doesn't exist, now you're setting your children up for failure. Malcolm X used to say that the white man is the devil. My children grew up with Trayvon Martin up. My son, I don't have to tell him that. They are witnessing this. On video, I'm gonna kill you right in front of your face with the camera on. So we don't gotta run around with rhetoric. The fact of the matter is we have an enemy. And if I'm a father and I love my children and the children that's going to come from them, I got to be a warrior and stand for principles, but also remind my children and prepare them for what they're about to face. So my organization is called GANG. It stands for Going After the Next Generation. And I started it in Jersey because I'm dealing with the influx of Bloods and Crips. We haven't recovered yet. They sneaking down here in the area, but we came up with GANG as a way for me to get to them. And I would tell my brothers in the Bloods and Crips, wait a minute, brothers, y'all come from the Black Panthers. And the Black Panthers come from the Nation of Islam because they love Malcolm. I said, so you part of the tree. You gotta truly represent brotherly love, override oppression and destruction. Crip, community revolution and progress. That's what it started as. But y'all on something else. But we had to be warriors to step to them. So my vision, brother, is that we add those my piece is the spiritual piece. Because you started with A, and the Arabic word for God is Allah. If we try to do this thing called fatherhood without God, we doing what in the military they call marking time. We running in police. Because God is at our core. We are spiritual people. Whatever you call them, however you want to get there, you can't go nowhere in Africa and not find God and spirituality at the center of that man's culture. So we have to make sure that God is leading us. He's our shield. And as the Bible says, we put on the whole armor of God so that we can withstand all that's coming at us. Because as brother was talking, he just brought to mind what we really go through. Like, this is real. And you know, my son, he see it now. But I was a warrior for him growing up. I was looking for all the microaggressions. I'm sniffing out somebody trying to put a pin in his brain, like Malcolm said the teacher did him. I was waiting for somebody. But then at the end of the day, where's our schools? So as my brother said, homeschool, we homeschooled our children for 4 or 5 years. We had to. And we took them as further as we could without it being a detriment to them. But I had to put God in it, put the reality of who he is as the original man. Put that black love in them and in my daughters. And now I'm going to send you to a world that don't love your very shadow. They don't love your shadow. And I don't want you to find out about it without me telling you. Everything on the outside, you're going to learn from dad on the inside. So you can, that's what a vaccine is. You put a strain of the drug in us so that your body can build up immune system to the real thing.
Talking good.
So as fathers, you got to give them racism, sexism, materialism, national. You got to give them all the crap that's in the world as an immune, as a booster shot. So that when they get in the world and they see, aha, my daddy told me about it. So we got to be proactive, brothers, and stop all this trying to go along to get along. We have an open enemy, and we have an internal enemy, which is ignorance. So if we come together with our elders, which we don't do no more, we robbing the elders now. We robbing them. The elders can walk down the street, OG, let's move out the way, that's Uncle so-and-so. That's so-and-so. We don't do that no more. We're going to rob the OG now. So there's something that's happened. So my vision is, Brother Dr. O, as I conclude, for my gang organization, when I go into the prisons in the school, I don't go non-spiritual. This is a non-spiritual organization, but I make sure that when you see me, you're going to get spirituality. They would always tell me, Brother John, you can't talk God when you come in, and I learned my lesson the hard way. I had a superintendent tell me, Brother John, okay, we're going to give you the whole school, freshmen to seniors. You can't talk God. You can't say Farrakhan. You got to separate church and state. I said, okay. I said, yeah. And I got in front of that school, and I lit that school on fire with Farrakhan and the nation and God. And it felt good. It boosted my ego. I had the whole school riled up, and I never made it back to that school. So I had to ask myself a question. Do I want to feed my ego or reach my youth? What do I want to do here? So my gang organization is not religious, but it's spiritual. And I just give them the tools of manhood and fatherhood that I get, but not denying who you are as a man and that God is your source. I can't deny that. And I've been blessed to do that, without smacking white folks and going off on a tangent. We can get our young people without getting into the rhetoric with love, but you got to be a warrior in this thing, man. Because if you're going to be a coward, you're going to lose your children. Because they're going to hit the streets and a blood going to run up to them, a crip going to run up to them, somebody going to run up to them that you didn't prepare them for.
I got something for you.
And then they not going to respect us. Now, they're getting the gat and the gun because we didn't prepare them for what was coming. So let's just be vigilant, feed our children knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and let's cross-pollinate. There's so much stuff going on in Wilmington and Chester and Philly. We got to cross-pollinate like bees do so that we can prepare the next generation.
Proper planning prevents poor performance and provides pleasing prosperity.
Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
That's right. Fire. So, thank you, brother, for that vision. So, the wall is still here, folks. I still got my brothers on my left and my right around the table, and now I'm going to introduce this brother to my left, Brother James. The last name is
Dennis.
James Dennis, and where did we meet? We met.
At the basketball game for Brahim.
Oh, yeah. So he and I connected to Brother Brahim. This is a brother who's going through serious challenges in his life. His son playing around with a gun, didn't have the lock on it, wasn't locked up. Accident happened. Now the brother's is in the spirit world. And we was at an anniversary, and we was lifting him up, the young brother's life, and we met, and as we started to talk, he told me that he's doing something really, really spectacular. I said, what? You dealing with something, mental health, a black man? What? You doing what? So, brother, please introduce yourself and let the audience know why you're here, and also share your vision for...
Well, my name is James. Friends call me Jalere, but James Dennis is acceptable these days. I'm not in them streets no more, so it's okay. But my whole thing is in the behavior of mental health. With children from 5 to 19-year-old, giving them, or let me back up.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to know
myself?
about you, yeah.
We'll be here all day. I got a meeting to go to after the field. But I'm from Chester, from the church to the streets to the penitentiary. You know, I ran in these streets. I just got finished doing 12 years.
Oh,
I've been home 2 years. And
congratulations, welcome home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How I got into the mental health aspect is me going through the mental health. I dealt with anxiety. At the end of my bed, I was becoming always overthinking of what's going to be out here for me on these streets. Is I'm going to go back to the streets, or I'm going to walk that straight line, get a 9 to 5. And I had a taste for money. So I'm like, I'm going to support myself, this and that. So that where it kicked in. So, you know, black men, we got this ego, you know, whereas though, man, I'd be hype. But it just kept bearing down on me. I wake up in the morning, my heart was beating just fast, waking up just thinking, I'm gonna go home, take care of my family, what's gonna be the next move when I get home. So I said, you know what, let me go over to this psychology department. You know, first I went to the medical department, so I keep having these heart races. They take my blood pressure, check my heart, like, nah, everything's good. When did this happen? I explained to her. She was like, well, you might need to go see the psychologist. I was open to it. So we busting it up at the psychology. They were saying some things about the experience. I'm experiencing this, and this is my triggers. What is it? So I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about. So I start picking up books. Start reading books on psychology, on anxiety, depression, and I got engrossed in it. And then I met a guy I met him before these symptoms, and he has a mental health agency in Norfolk, Virginia. So I'm talking to him, and he was telling me, you know, he worked with the kids. So after that, I'm just laying down and evaluating my life, the stuff I've been through. I'm like, you know what? I've been dealing with this anxiety since I was a kid. You know, so I'm like, this is crazy. So if I was dealing with it when I was a kid, imagine all my other little black and brown little kids going through it now. How's the world is changing because the culture that we came up in was, ain't nothing wrong with you. That's a white man's problem. Only white people go through that, you know? So, and then the other part of the culture, you don't tell people your business. You show them signs of weakness. Don't no man go through that, you know? And you going through this, so here I am in my 40s, knocking on 50. I'm like, I've been going through this since I was a kid. That fight or flight syndrome, you know? And then when somebody says something to you, you're taking it the wrong way. Or you could have been a bigger person and walked away and just say, oh, they ain't saying nothing. But instead, you're gonna fight. That's that anxiety. He can't just say what he wants, disrespect me. Instead of thinking rational, whereas though I'm going to have to sit myself down, take a step back for a second and look at the whole situation, the action, the belief, and the consequence, what they call ABCs in mental health. Whereas though what the action is, do it means that the way I was raised in my belief is the right way, and then the consequences is I get mad, my blood pressure go up, it's not healthy, I'm killing myself. So if I start thinking rational and do a what they call RSA, rational self-analysis, where you look at what's going on, you see where as though it's going to lead to a bad situation. So you want to go over this side and look at the good situation and the outcome of where as though you don't get your blood pressure up, you ain't stressing. All you doing is just, like they say, water flow off a duck, let it go. You know? Yeah. So with the CBTs, the brother was saying, he was talking about the cognitive behavior therapy. You always gotta think that way. Always gotta groom yourself. Our young kids isn't groomed to handle them situations. They quick, as you see on the news, to pull the trigger.
6 years old.
The consequences, never coming home. When they could have just said, you know what, I'm not doing that. Because for me, I lost a lot going to prison. Family, my children, the relationship. I come home, I try to tell my kids do something. Been going 12 years. And all they can say, Dad, you don't know me. You know, even though I'm thinking I'm trying to lead them with good decisions, but they already adults now. They're like, you've been going 12 years when we was teenagers. We grown now. And that's the part where the fathers come in. But what my program is, if I can get a grasp on these children in our community and put my counselors with them and give them a program to do and practice make perfect. You know what I'm saying? Pamphlets, workbooks, and they keep practicing, they'll be able to deal with society. My thing is to help navigate them through society, because just throwing them out there, they're gonna just follow the flow.
Brother, share with us your vision for, has your business started, the clinic that you're going to create?
Yes, it's called Infinite Family Services. My office is in Aston. We are at the last part of being credentialed, whereas though we will be able to build the state for the treatment that we get to the children. We don't use medicine, none of that. This is not medical. This is it's just behavior. What they call IBHS, Intensive Behavioral Health Services. Whereas though what we do is called a wraparound. Whereas though we visit the house, children at the house, we visit children at the school. So my vision is to be able to help these children realize their potentials.
Okay. Raising kings. Raising kings.
Give them another way to think and see things. Put positive people in their life. Because most children won't talk to the family or the parents, but they'll talk to a stranger. they will vent to a stranger. You know, we came up around the time where as though children are supposed to be saying "I heard." I didn't like peas or carrots. I better eat them if I ain't want to be hungry as a child. You know, you didn't have a choice. So, if I could get these kids to get on board and see that it's something better for them at the end, instead of following little friends, you know, most of the children in the city from single parent homes.
Okay.
So I'm going to make sure I'm going to put counselors gender-wise. Real men with young men. Real women with the young women. Because there's a lot of mothers out here that ain't doing their job properly. And hate to say it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we know that language, and I'm not going to use it, but we know what some of these sisters are saying to their children would make you go. Yeah. So, how can people be in touch with you? Can you give them a phone number, an email, so they can be in touch with you to support what you're doing?
Our email is number 8 at infinitefamilyservices.com. Let me pull the number. I'm still memorizing the number myself. And our office number is 610-273-5377.
Say it one more time.
610-273-5377. And it's called Infinite Family Services. We are located in Aston, PA, 100 Springbrook Boulevard. And our office will be open from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. But you can call us on the weekend if it's emergency, but if it's a medical emergency, call 911. So,
Thank you so much. Man, that's very inspiring to know that you're dealing with your own awareness of what was happening to you, taking that introspective to look back at your life and seeing the pattern of anxiety that existed and then doing something about it, right? So when you talk about A, you're talking about action, right? It's not just awareness of something, but are you taking action on it? And you are certainly an example of that. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to introduce a brother to my right, Dr. Smith. Yes, introduce yourself to the audience.
First and foremost, thank you guys. That's major, what you're doing. I actually just got hired to be a clinician, to do the work with another black-owned company, so the IBHS, and
yes,
so that's major. So we should definitely connect.
Okay.
Thank you, good brother, for what you said. You know, the gentleman Ulysses put a spark in you. You put a spark in me, because I was sitting there as I was listening to the commentary or the conversation that was occurring. I'm like, where's the spirit? It's a spirituality piece that's missing. Dr. Craig Smith, the CEO and founder of Fostering Success Boys to Men. We educate, we mentor, we empower black and brown boys in and out of foster care. And I'm not a biological parent or father, but I've fathered hundreds of young adults, primarily young men. And prior to starting the nonprofit, I was a foster care parent. And what God gave me was grab 4 young boys that you can help to foster their success. And when I realized the system wasn't set up for these young men to be successful, I pulled out. And I started my own organization, because now you can't dictate how I do what I know to do as it relates to helping to shape and guide and cultivate these young men's lives. But one of the things that I realized while doing that is that these young men lacked the moral compass. They were just walking shells that looked like grown men, that had these appetites for food and appetite for sex and no appetite for education and knowledge, but they were just spiritually empty. And I recall one of the young men that came into my care proclaimed Islam. I'm a Christian. Okay, we getting up and we going to church on Sunday. You got to get up and do something. And I remember taking him up on Germantown Avenue, where I knew the Muslim brothers to be, and I hopped out and said, look, this is my son, I'm a Christian, he's Muslim, I need to be able to give him to somebody that's not going to, 1, pervert this relationship, but that's 2, going to be the right kind of example for him, because I can't educate him and show him the right way in this pathway. Sad to say, them brothers looked at me like I was crazy, and I had to go somewhere else. But I did end up finding the right person that was the right fit for this young man. To your point about having the right kind of examples and the right persons. I'm out here in Chester now because I'm opening up 2 transitional homes for individuals re-entering into society. So it took me about 3 months to kind of figure out what demographic and what population I really wanted to focus on. And I ended up going back to my own lived experience, which was my dad, who's no longer with us. He is with me. I carry him with me everywhere I go. But my father had some mistakes late in age, and he actually paroled to my house 12 years ago. So I went through that process. My father suffered from mental illness. My father was a functional drug addict, crack addict all my life. So all of these bits and pieces of these lived experiences have gotten me to this point. And now the transitional living home, which originally was for aged out of foster care youth, but I ended up shifting the demographic for this first house. So we have 2 homes, one that's ready to go. That's where I met Brother Hakeem through Reentry Services. So I have 6 men that will be entering into the home next week. And then the house next door to that, I'm on the tail end of construction. So we'll have 14 beds, and we're going to provide these resources for these brothers. So listening to all of these components and all of the programs and all of the resources that were sitting here at the table, I'm definitely going to connect the men in my care to the services, because the goal is to make sure that they're well and they have what they need to not reoffend and to keep the recidivism down.
Oh, that is spectacular, spectacular. I work for the Foundation for Delaware County as the fatherhood coordinator. Our public health programs and initiatives include improving birth outcomes and maternal, family, child, adolescents health for families, and of course that includes fathers as well. We help participants develop better parenting skills and promote overall well-being within families who have historically been excluded from access to high-quality service and supports. These programs provide a continuum of services to meet the needs of individuals and families so that they may thrive and become self-sufficient. We use something which is called a life journey or framework, right, with respect to the birthing process. So we want to have fathers educated in preconception health, what's their health, right? And it's been shown that what you eat and how you live your life is going to actually impact the quality of your sperm, right? So once the woman is impregnated, prenatal health, how a father is involved with prenatal health for himself, for the partner, as well as the child to be, the embryo. And then once the birth happens, how is the father present for that? What must he know about birthing process? Is he out in the street or is he there in the hospital? Then after that is called postpartum health for all of them, all family members, and that moves into conception health and what plans are they going to have? You know, most of our babies, I think they come because the Creator wants them here, but the people themselves don't usually have a thing where we're going to get, we're going to have this baby. So we have to be more intentional, right? We had said before, the proper planning prevents poor performance. Yeah. And then parenting and child development, right? This is the continuum, right? This life course continuum that we work with. So as the fatherhood coordinator, I'm building different activities, and this is one of them, to reach the community in saying, this is what we do, please come in and join us, so that you can provide the greatest birthing process for yourself, for your wife, your partner, and for that child. And that means we have different things. One of the things two things I'm gonna bring to your attention. One is called Dad's Cafe. Dad's Cafe is a time when we come together and talk. That's how I met Hakeem. Hakeem came on Dad's Cafe, and we've been joined at the hip ever since. And Dad's Cafe is a 90-minute conversation. It's structured, right? We go through a series of steps, but it's learning what is called the 5 protective factors. It's the second Wednesday of every month from 6:30 to 8. The team, and I'm inviting folks to come on and join the production team. The team meets up at 6. From 6:30, we're looking what putting our plans together, so forth and so on. And then from 6:30 to 8, we have Dad's Cafe. But also on the second Wednesday of the month, if people are available, we have something which is called the Fatherhood Engagement Committee. What is that? That's a community. It's 4 of us, 2 brothers left. That's 6. 1 brother over here, JP. That's 7. But we want to turn the 7 into 70. We want to turn the 70 into 700, and the 700 into what? There you go. So we have this place where we meet the second Wednesday every month at 9:30, and we're on. It's virtual, and we talk about how can we grow fatherhood commitment in Delaware County. How can we position ourselves to be a part of the services that are being provided? And if your organization is not providing those services, how can you start doing that? And the goal is to have, for June of 2023, is to have a whole month of fatherhood activities, the whole month, every single day. I can't do that, but we can do that. So I'm calling people to the Fatherhood Engagement Committee on the second Wednesday of every month, so we can circle up and start to say, okay, I got that. I got the first, I got the second, I got the third, and we can start building towards that and creating an interconnected net of people and services. The idea is this: we need to build a fatherhood continuum of care in Delaware County and also in Wilmington as well, right? This fatherhood continuum of care is everything that the woman is getting, and she should get WIC, and she should get Healthy Start, and she should get Nurse Family Partnership, all those different things, and cradles, cribs, she should get all of that, and also the brother should be getting the same thing. So now I'm attempting to duplicate, parallel all the services that are available for women, and then make them available for men. We have to remember that there's been a concerted, intentional effort to marginalize and leave out black men in everything, right, except labor. They want us to work.
Brother Baba, if I can just share real quick, because you touched the nerve.
Give me 1 second. So,
Beautiful.
it actually was George Bush who started Healthy Start in 1989, right? He started a White House task force to reduce infant mortality, and Healthy Start was one of 18 proposals. But guess what? It wasn't until this last funding cycle that the fatherhood coordinator position was funded. How do you do that? You do that with the same mentality that Social Security was started. My great-grandmother, Martha Davis, could not get Social Security because FDR surgically removed the black women who were maids in the North, and they surgically removed the black men in the South. That was the deal he had to cut with the Democratic Party. That, wait a minute, we got this black man, you tell me you're gonna give them a choice of getting Social Security rather than working for me and making money for me? Well, you need to cut that out. How do you surgically remove people from a national program? How do you do that? A mentality is so warped. And it's the same warped mentality that existed in the funding for fatherhood services in this country. So it was only in the last funding cycle that someone like me can get. Now, that doesn't mean that the work wasn't being done. People was trying to, do it any way they could, but it wasn't structured, right? So we're talking about, Malcolm said, I have a right to be a human being on this earth, and I intend to bring those human rights into being by any means necessary. So right now, any means necessary is brothers circling up and bringing their skills, bringing their resources, and making this thing work for ourselves, for our wives, for our children, for our families, for our community, for our people. And Brother John, you had something that you wanted to share.
Yeah, excuse me, brother. I definitely don't want to cut my brother off as my elder. You were talking about this continuing care. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has a 5-part lecture series on YouTube you all can go to. It's called How to Give Birth to a God. He did it in 1986. Each lecture was like 3 hours. But but he talked about what should be in the mind of the man even when he emits the life fluid. Because everything we are is in our sperm. And so when we emit the life fluid, is our mind on God? Or is our mind on something else? And then that child being in the womb, the care that we should have with the child. We were told when my wife was born, Dr. O, no funerals. Not when you're pregnant. No scary movies. No foolishness. Because everything that's in the mind of that woman is now in the child, and we have the ability to produce the next prophet or the next Barack Obama or the next crackhead, depending on her mentality and our mentality with the admission of the sperm. So I teach the young men with me, your sperm is sacred, little brother. Don't just give your sperm to anybody. Your sperm is sacred because that's your life fluid. So this constant attack is real. In the book of Exodus, the first chapter, you know, I used to talk to my grandmother. She used to always say, you know, we are the people of God. And generally when you talk to black people, it's a consensus, we are. And we get this from the Old Testament and what happened as being, you know, the children of Israel. Well, in the book of Exodus, when the children of Israel were growing mightily in Egypt, Pharaoh was troubled by their growth. Because the first chapter of Exodus says the Egyptians, the women weren't having children at an alarming rate, but the Hebrew girls were, the Hebrew women. And so Pharaoh brought his midwives together and he said, come, let us deal wisely with them. Who? The children of Israel. Why? Because their numbers are growing unless they join on to an enemy. And his command to the leadership and the nurses was kill the male, spare the female. So what we are going through in 2023 is not happenstance. We are fulfilling scripture because Caucasian women are having a birth rate of negative 0.02, meaning for every child being born, one is dying. So they're not growing as a population. But the black man and the Hispanic brother, all we got to do is sneeze, and that's sister pregnant. So they're looking at the demographics and they're saying by 2050, 2060, we will be the majority. And the word minority will be used for Caucasian people. And the minds of the satanic, racist, Klansmen who's in power, that cannot happen. So what do? Kill the male. Spare the female. Because by killing the male and sparing the female, now you put her in a position where she pumping her chest out to you. She got the jobs, we don't. She's developing testicles and we developing ovaries. She coming in the house barking at us and we whining, yeah, I did the dishes, honey. See, you killing us. And then you factor in the prevalence of homosexuality. It's a whole nother game that they pushing on us because the scripture has to be fulfilled. Kill the male. Pharaoh doesn't tell them how to do it. Kill the male. Spare the female. Why? Because their population is growing. This is where we at, y'all. God has blessed our sperm and our womb, even through all that we going through. Somebody's womb is being closed by divine intervention. We need to take a look at that. The scientists are. In Europe and America right now, the womb of the Caucasian woman is closing. That's why they having all this infertilization. That ain't for you, black woman. You don't need that. All you need is one of us. See? That's this whole thing about getting rid of Roe versus Wade. It's not for you, black woman. They want you to have as many abortions as you can. This is why they open up abortion clinics like they open up McDonald's in the black community. You find us, abortion clinic right around the corner. They're trying to stop this white woman from having abortions so that they can reverse what is the inevitable. God got his hand on us, but this killing of the male is real, and we have to look at it from a prophetic mind. It ain't personal. It ain't even personal. It's about survival of the white race, and I get it, but God is with us now. And so with your continuum care, that's all part of the plan of raising us up as men. And so I sign on that 1,000% because I see the big picture. And I'm interested to see how they're going to fight you with funding once they see
interested-
what you're doing.
So
I'm interested. Hold on, Doc. I'm interested to see how we gonna change the mindset with folk being intimate and shifting from being intimate to focusing on God, so we can have that portal. So do you when you
Yeah,
crack that,
guess-
when you let me know. 'Cause
we got some work to do. You know, so I'm
Ain't
participating.
clapping.
I'm participating as a community person, right?
Yes,
I
sir.
just so happen to work at the Foundation for Delaware County. That happens to be my 9 to 5 where I work. But I'm participating in this as a community person, and in that being community, being part of the community, we have all different parts of the community represented.
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to make that clear. We're about to close out, but Dr. Smith, I don't think you left the audience with your name and your number and your email. Can you please do that?
yes, you guys can reach me on Instagram, Fostering Success, B, the number 2, the letter M, or Fostering Success, B, the number 2, the letter M, .org is our actual website. 484-381-0701. I actually have an additional brand, which is C. Smith Funding. So I'm merging the two brands where we're teaching people how to become more financially literate, how to secure other people's money, to reinvest, to create multiple streams of income so that we can come out of poverty and really be positioned to do the work. A lot of the angst and stresses is because folk ain't got no damn money. So we can figure out how to secure the bag and then how to leverage the bag and how to invest the bag. Then we'll have bags to give and to invest further and more deeply into our community.
Thank you for talking about the bag. Thank you. So we know that, brothers on the street say, if you're dumb enough to buy it, I'm smart enough to sell it. Right? It's not with the intention of necessarily hurting you, but if this is what you want to do and this is the way I'm going to get some cash and bread, I'm going to do that. So we have to create those possibilities. So for you to speak about that is really important. Colonialism does a number of things. The 4 things that it wants to do is make you mystified, dependent, subordinate, and powerless. Checkmate. So our work to develop ourselves and our people in our community is to become educated, self-reliant, self-affirming, and self-determining. And what you're bringing is that next step. A lot of things have happened over, I'm going to just say the last 20 years in terms of knowing who we are and having a better understanding of history, so forth. Because in Kemet, not Egypt, Kemet said, "What? Know thyself." Right. So we're learning that, but we still haven't taken that second step to what dissolve the domestic colonial construct that we find ourselves in so that we can become self-reliant. So for you to bring that forward is such a need. It's the next step in our evolution. So I'm going to go around and close out and start to my left. Any last words you want to say to the audience, and you can give your information again of how they can be in touch with you. We're going to meet here the last Friday of every month, and this is our inaugural Everything for Fathers, A to Z. So I'm going to my left. Brother, please, your last words.
Well, I just want the community to know that it is help out here for the children. It's not going to cost you anything to get your child the help that they need. And most times you won't know that your child needs help unless you have them talk to a professional. We don't use medication, so we're not putting no kids on any medication to mess up their heads. So that's one thing you could not have to worry about. A lot of parents fear that they're gonna diagnose and put the kid on medication instead of, having them evaluated first and talk to them and see what's going on with them. So that's my whole thing. I want to help these children navigate them through life so they don't revert to the bad things or pick up the bad habits or think they working off emotions and making decisions when that's inbred into them. When as though if you teach them, ain't nothing but, you know what I'm saying? It ain't saying nothing, ain't nothing. Think about the future, look down the road. It's sitting down there better for you. Because if you make this bad decision, you're gonna lose a lot.
Thank you, brothers. And Dr. Smith.
Yeah, I mean, if you want it, you can have it. And there's people and resources in place to help you to get it. To the brother's point about the clinical and the psychological piece, I'm not heavy on medication, but every now and again they need a little bit of something. So one of the things I did as a behavior specialist consultant and a mobile therapist would encourage the parent to do half of the pill. Right, don't totally take the pill out because you're noticing the difference in the change of behavior. But a lot of what I realized while going into the home is that this is learned behavior, right? There's no structure in the home front. They're allowed to run wild and jump on tables and pull stuff down, and then the expectation when they go to school the next day is that they're going to sit like Ready Freddy's ready to learn, and they don't have the capacity because that's just not what's being taught from the home front. So a lot of what we're seeing from a clinical perspective is actually learned behavior. So a lot of what I do as a clinician is modeling behaviors for the young person. As it relates to the work that I'm doing in this new space with the transitional living houses, I'm excited. I'm a bit nervous, but I am excited. I helped my dad and my two brothers actually walk through their re-entry into the world, and knock on wood, thank God, none of them reoffended. So they remained free. And it was all about me building that credit, adding them to my trade lines before, when that 1 year out mark, I added them to my trade lines and I built the credit. Got them credit cards in their name. Got them all enrolled in school. Everybody got a forklifter certificate and you was able to make $20 an hour. So figuring out ways in which you can give them a little bit, which isn't what they're used to, but is enough, and then helping to coach. What I did learn is that, and I've had conversations with different departments that oversee this transition. The work needs to begin a year out, probably 2 years before they're going to be released, because it's the mindset and the mentality. All of them struggle with, what the hell am I supposed to do? Look at y'all. And I had to reaffirm, like, man, you've been down for 16 years. I've been in school for 16 years. So you're coming home to the end result of 16 years worth of investment. Now, the good thing for you, to your benefit, is that you ain't got to start at ground zero. You starting at 10 because you got people who know better. So now we're going to do better. We're going to show better. So my one brother has New Lane Entertainment. He was PNB Rock's manager. So he went to the whole music arena and doing great work in his respective space. My other brother has a home health care company and a few other businesses as well. And my dad actually, I was his retirement plan, and he reminded me that. He was my right-hand man doing the work with Fostering Success. We developed a youth diversion program, our Emerging Leaders of Tomorrow program. I developed a curriculum, and if you guys visit the website, www.fosteringsuccessb2m.org, you'll see one of the videos of our emerging leaders. And that program was run, that cohort that you'll see was run at Carson Valley. So these young men were in placement, and we were able to go in there and really change mentality and mindsets. So I'm excited about the work. I left my job in higher education. I told God I'm gonna give this 6 months of uninterrupted energy and see what happens, because since 2016 when I started the nonprofit, I was always torn between me being a scholar practitioner and then me doing the heart work. So now that I'm in the heart work space, and it feels good, walking in purpose, but it's a little unnerving because I'm used to that big check coming every 2 weeks. And then I got to hustle a little different. So yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Brother John.
Dr. O, my brother, just thank you for allowing me to be here with these great men. As you're talking again, I'm just inspired to go to work. You know, the Holy Quran says that men are the maintainers of women, and with programs like that I'm hearing and the love that we have with each other and the camaraderie, we can put that and bridge that gap for these young brothers. You can reach me on Instagram at Gang Movement, GANG. My direct line is 732-768-3014. If you're looking for unapologetic, God-centered workshops for young men and women, holla at your boy, because we are unapologetically black. We love our people, we love our community, and the scripture says perfect love casts out fear. So I'm trying to get to that point where I don't care who fears what we need, what we doing, if it's needed for our young men to get them to be good fathers, we got to give it to them. Mentally, physically, spiritually, economically, and we got to do it unapologetically. Perfect love casts out fear, and I love working with brothers who are up with that type of love, because we'll come together without fear of our oppressor stopping us from doing what we're doing. So thank you again, good brother. Honored to be with you.
So this is Dr. O. You can be in touch with me by calling 215-990-1279, and my email is omuid@delco, D-E-L-C-O, foundation.org. And we'd like you to participate in all the different things that we are doing, not just what we're doing, or I'm doing through the foundation, but all the different things you've heard here that we want you to get involved and tell other people about it so they can get involved, so we can change this 7 to 70 to 700 to 7,000. But I want to say to Jean-Pierre, we call him Uncle P, brother, you have followed, you know, your heart, your aspirations and inspirations, and because of what you've done, we can sit at this table. You made this table, and I want to recognize you and say thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much.